Avram Avinu is faced with a problem that threatens to destroy everything he tried to establish. In Parshas Lech Lecha, the Torah tells us that there is a riv, there is an argument between the shepherds of Avraham and the shepherds of Lot. And Rashi explains that what was this argument about? It was that the shepherds of Lot were allowing their flock to graze in an area that belonged to other people. And so the shepherds of Avraham said, you can't just let them graze anywhere, that's stealing. And the shepherds of Lot said, look, Avraham doesn't have any children, so God gave Avraham the entire land. That means everything belongs to Avraham. He doesn't have any children, so therefore we are his inheritors, and therefore we can have our animals graze anywhere. So Avraham is faced with a challenge that he now realizes that the person who he is living with, his nephew Lot, is someone who has a different outlook on the world than him, and Avraham is frightened that Lot's moral compass will do damage to the ethical standard that Avraham established for his family. So Avraham has to make a decision. And this is what he does. Vayomer Avram el Lot, Avram says to Lot, Al nasahi mi riva beinu beinecho ben ro'ayu ben ro'echo. Let there not be an argument between me and you and my shepherds and your shepherds. You know why? Ki anashim achim anachnu. Lot, I want you to know, we are family. And that means I love you and I care about you and I will always care about you. And precisely because of that, I need to have a conversation with you that is a difficult one. And imagine Avram Avinu does something here which is so hard for so many of us to do on different areas of our lives. And that is to have a difficult conversation because it's uncomfortable. But Avram says to Lot, Halocha la'aretz lefanecha hipared na me'alai. He says, Lot, we can't live together. What my goals are different than what your goals are. What you are believing is considered to be right is different than what I believe. And I'm worried, I'm concerned about the influence of your people on my people. So Lot, I want you to know that first and foremost, we're family. I'll always be there for you. I'll come to your simchas. I'll be there for you. God forbid if you need me for something wrong, I will be at your side. But day to day, we need to create something. I need to have a boundary. And that is such an integral word in the ability of man to function in this world. For any of us, for any man, for any woman, we need to have boundaries. Families need boundaries. And Avram establishes a boundary here by having a difficult conversation and saying to Lot that if I don't create a boundary, I'm not going to be able to do what I need to do. I'm not going to be able to live life the way I want to live it. And you know what? I'm going to form resentment and anger toward you, and I don't want that, Lot. So let's separate and know that I'll always be there. I'll always be there to come to your assistance. And we know, of course, that next week's Parsha, Parshas Vayera, Avram comes and saves Lot from stone. And so Lot is able to hear Avraham, and he decides to go to stone. The incredible lesson here, an example of Avram Avinu, is so pertinent to our own lives, in that there are those who have family members, there are those who have friends who are really on some level toxic to their being able to have a sense of peace and inner peace in their life, and their being able to function and not be paralyzed by all that comes with the relationship. And it's possible for us to be able to say to those people who we have a difficult time being around for whatever reason, that we need to establish a boundary, a level of comfort, to tell them that we care about them, but if we don't have a boundary, we're not going to be able to preserve our own selves. And it's too tragic. It's too tragic to think about the people who are suffering with resentment and anger at others because of the fact that we're so frightened to have a difficult conversation. Yes, the difficult conversation could last a couple of minutes, hours maybe, but the impact can spare us from a life of hardship and sadness, stress and sickness. May we be zocheh to learn the lesson that Avram Avinu is trying to teach us in this parsha and establish the correct boundaries in our lives that we can continue to persevere, to function, and live life full of a sense of peace on the inside and on the outside. Thank you for listening and have a good Shabbos.